Yeah, so April's official MK content was a bit naff, eh? Yeah, so first of all, welcome, Mortal May 3. It has begun! I don't have a Shang Tsung costume. What would I go for if I was doing a Shang Tsung look? Probably the leather jacket, because I won't be able to rock it as well as Karitagawa, but then it's Karitagawa, that man is a legend. Well, that'd probably be the look I would go for. Anyway, the point is, Mortal May 3 is here, and I'm sure after the existence of Mortal May 2, it was not difficult to imagine that this was going to happen, especially when this is the UK release of the movie. I believe is going to be in May, so it's going to be in Mortal May, whereas the US release is like a couple of weeks before Mortal May. So yeah, so obviously the first question that's going to be on people's minds is movie review. What's going on? Yes, there is going to be a movie review. It might already be out by now. I mean, I'm recording this a couple of days before this video goes up. I don't think it's going to be up by then, but it could be, but probably not. I have edited pretty much the entire thing. I'm just waiting on a guest appearance for that. But once I've got that, it's going to go up. And trust me, this one's going to be really good. Not necessarily for the video itself, but the context surrounding it, I think is actually really cool. And you guys are going to see that when it does release. It's not going to be a lengthy like breakdown, you know, like a critique. I will do one of those at some point, most likely, because this movie is fucking awful. But for now, it's going to be kind of focused on specific points that I feel are important to discuss and point out, because this movie is incredibly flawed, and people who are calling it this amazing like masterpiece or whatever, or think it's really good, they need to take a step back and look at it and think, you know, it's not perfect. And it's also not completely without merit. I mean, Kano was great. But I've said it on Twitter, and it really does hold true, when the best part of your MK product is Kano, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Also, Raiden in the movie is fucking terrible. Me standing right here like this, I am a better Raiden. I look more accurate to the character, and I've also got actual personality. But I'm not stood here saying you don't have the power, therefore you're shit. Like Raiden, you're supposed to encourage the fighters. You are a fucking awful mentor in this movie, Raiden. Fuck you. But other than that, other than the video related to the MK movie, what else can you expect from Mortal May? As with last year, and I think I tried this with the year before, I'm aiming to try and get one video from each of my shows made that's MK related, except A Line Through Time, because all I can really think to do for that is Reception's Conquest Mode. Its timeline doesn't make any sense, which I will do at some point. It's just, it would require like a full playthrough and some exploration, because you get cameos and stuff that you might miss, so it would require a lot of like more prep work than I kind of have time for in Mortal May, because I've still got about 7 videos that I'm aiming to get done, including this one and the movie one. Some of them are going to be super short, like the parallel plots. That's going to be easy, and that may end up being the first one that comes out. But yeah, as far as the shows go, I'm going to try and get everything except for A Line Through Time. So what are these videos that you can expect? I don't want to say up front exactly what they are, but I will give a bit of information about them, because I feel like it's kind of lame if I just say, here's the exact video that's going to happen. I don't know, I might change my mind mid-video. You know, it happens when I do like tier lists and roster dusters and stuff. Sometimes my criteria is inconsistent, like my mind changes mid-video. Who knows, right? For Parallel Plot, it's going to be comparing MK3 to a certain popular movie that came out almost a decade ago. It's one that you might not expect, and hopefully people will look at this and go, hang on, wait, what? When they see the thumbnail and they watch and go, and that's kind of the response I want to elicit in people. So that's one of them. For adaptive difficulty, it's actually something a bit more timely, I guess, because this one is going to relate to MK Adaptations, because it's adaptive difficulty. It's how I personally would adapt Mortal Kombat into another medium, specifically live action. If you've read MK Chronicles, you've got a decent enough idea of how I would adapt it. It would be basically a lot of the same ideas. It's just some things would be a little different, pretend to do it differently, partly because of the structure of the medium I'm adapting into compared to Bros, and you know, stuff. And you'll see, you'll see. And yeah, at some point I will also be discussing some of the other adaptations. Like, I've got one idea for one that won't be Immortal May, but it will be at some point. It'll be basically comparing how the tournament was adapted in the original movie compared to Scorpion's Revenge. This is one I wanted to do since Scorpion's Revenge came out. But now with the new movie that's come out, and I guess I could probably look at MK Legacy Season 2 at some point. I feel like this would be a much bigger project, similar to the one that I've talked about in the past, which will be a Cannonball, not coming in Immortal May, by the way, where I compare the way characters and stories are presented in MK2, Shaolin Monks, and MK 2011, but that expanded even further because the past characters from MK11 are from that same time frame, and they've been changed there too. So that became even bigger. I was planning to do that as a Cannonball here, but it's a big project. And Mortal May, yeah, it would be nice to have a big one, but I've kind of just been dealing with a bunch of other smaller projects rather than prepping for Mortal May, so I guess that one's on me. So there will be a big, massive project here, so don't expect any like critiques or like something big like that Cannonball. Speaking of Cannonball, I've not decided. I've got a few ideas, but I'm going to do one. Yeah. I need to settle on which one it's going to be. Either one's going to require a bit of research because, you know, sometimes I do slip up and forget things. I mean, I was talking about in Adaptive Difficulty a while ago how someone involved in the movie supposedly said that resurrection is going to be a thing going forward or something, and how that could change these adaptations forever. And I talked about how they've not really had resurrection in previous adaptations, completely forgetting that Sindel was resurrected for MK Annihilation, like in MK3. I have relinquished my status as lesser god because I don't deserve it. Of course, there's also MK Chronicles. I'm going to try and get at least one story for that written. I've already started on that one, and it's chapter 60 is what I'm currently up to. So once I've got that done, I can do the video that talks about chapters 51 through 60, which I've had mostly written since, well, pretty much when I write a new chapter, I would add a bit about that chapter to the script, and I've just kind of been waiting until I got to chapter 60, but I've kind of not had as much drive to work on MK Chronicles lately. I don't know why. Honestly, I've been putting a lot more time to writing Persona stories. For some reason, that Persona's just where a lot of my creativity has been lately. But I'm trying to get back into the swing of things with MK Chronicles. This one is partly written. I've got the setup done. It's going to be similar to chapter 30. It's going to be a lot more original in its concept. It's not like taking a scene or a core concept that already exists and making something out of that. It's based around an original character predominantly, but there are other characters who are actually getting some screen time as a result of that. I'm not going to say who it's about, but I will say this, that if you like blood in your Mortal Kombat, or blood in your MK Women, you might enjoy this one. Especially if, you know, you watched the new movie and thought, the way fucking Nitara's going to be in this. You know, the way Nitara, I can't not. The way Nitara is treated in that movie is the same way Sindel was in MK11. It's not, obviously not quite to the same level, because that is a canonical entry that has retconned the character, but this is an alternate version of the character. But it's a complete misrepresentation. Nitara was a vampire from Vaeternus, which was merged with Outworld thousands of years ago. I mean, it was already egregious enough when she was on the Forces of Darkness in Armageddon's intro. You know, on the side of the villains, including the Outworlders, after she spent so long trying to restore her realm and eventually succeeded, and now she's fighting on the same side as the bad guys. The people who dominated her realm and her people for so long. She's just on that side, because Armageddon's intro is fucking brain dead. And here we have Nitara, she's just some Outworld villain who is possibly fucking Shang Tsung. And it's like the most character Shang Tsung gets in the entire movie, that he might be fucking Nitara. And Nitara here is very much in name only. The only way in which she's Nitara is that she has the name, she has black hair, and she has wings. And I'm not sure that Nitara ever even used her wings in the games. I don't recall her ever doing so. She might have done in some move, but I don't recall that ever happening. And that's all she has. She doesn't even have like vampire fangs. And she doesn't even have a fucking line of dialogue. And of course people are going to be like, be grateful she's here, like they were with Sindel, be grateful she's here. She's not here. This isn't Nitara. She doesn't have the character, she doesn't have the looks, she doesn't have the abilities. There is nothing about this character that is Nitara, and you can shut the fuck up. Honestly, this fucking fandom sometimes, you know? Wasted Potential was one that I struggled with for a bit to figure out what I was going to do, because most of my current MK ideas at this point are ones like, I want to do one for the MKX comic, but I'm not sure how to approach that one. And then a lot of them are MK11 focused, and I want to do that after the critique. The critique's not coming in Mortal May. The critique is not coming anytime soon. The critique is coming when all the DLC is out, and we won't know all the DLC is out until either someone at NetherRealm confirms, yes, MK11's content cycle is over, we've moved on to a new project, or they announce a new project, and that'll be our sign that, yeah, the content cycle for the previous game is done, because everyone's on board with the new one. Why do people still not get this? But the wasted potential for this is going to be about, well, the setting, effectively. It's about the realms and how underutilised they have been, especially in the newer games, but I'm also taking Midway to task on the way it fucked up the approach to some of the realms. So, once again, don't just call me some kind of Midway fanboy, because fanboys don't see anything wrong with the things they like. They think it's all purely amazing and fantastical, and that there's nothing wrong with it. But I do criticise Midway sometimes. It's just NetherRealm gets things wrong so much more often, and that's why they get so much of the focus. But Midway did bungle this as well. Midway bungled this as early as MK4, so I'm going to talk about that, and that's what the wasted potential will be. If I can think of another one, I might do that. It's just I don't want to do the MK11 ones until I've done the critiques, because I kind of like the idea that in the critique I will talk about these things and discuss why some of it's a problem, and then present the solution in wasted potential instead of effectively being, this is a problem. I talked about it on Wasted Potential though, so if you want to see that, this is the problem with having these other outlets for criticising and offering solutions when it comes to MK, is when I'm doing the big critique, some things get moved. Like if I didn't have Wasted Potential, the Injustice 2 critique, for example, all that talk I did about how Supergirl's role could have been improved and how they should have done more with Damien, that would have been in the critique instead of just very briefly alluded to and just left otherwise to be set up for wasted potential. So it's this weird balancing act where I don't want to go over everything in the critique and the wasted potential, but I also don't want to leave things feeling incomplete by basically saying, if you want an answer to this, go there. I mean, that's what MKX did. Like, what happened to Goro? Why is he only here as a sub boss? Go read the comic. What are the Reiko Accords? Go read the comic. You don't want to do that, because that's bad. Misconceptions. This was one that actually spawned from a discussion I had with a friend of mine. If you've been on my Twitter in the last few weeks, you may be able to figure out what it is I'm talking about. It's about a specific stance that a lot of MK fans have regarding a certain character. I'm going to be talking about how one of those points in particular people tend to bring up against this character, I think is kind of wrong. If you wonder about misconceptions, because I have branched out into other stuff, like I did the dumb misconceptions on Devil May Cry and the misconceptions on Persona 5. I am planning to do more that are non-MK, just not in Mortal May, obviously. We've got another Devil May Cry one planned, but at some point I have to talk about the fact that there are still people who think DMC Devil May Cry is a prequel to Devil May Cry 3. These people exist. So that's going to happen at some point, not during Mortal May, obviously, because, yeah. The only thing I can think of that would be non-MK related that could come up in Mortal May is another Persona story, because I've been writing so many of those. Like, I've effectively got an MK Chronicle for Resident Evil and one for Persona at this point, where it's just, here's a bunch of short stories that could be about anything. And because I understand that Mitsuru's birthday is coming up in about a week, and I was already working on a short story about her, so I figure I may as well release that then. But back to MK. There is of course going to be content from other people that I'll be having some kind of guest appearance on. I'm already booked to appear in a discussion with some other MK YouTubers to talk about the movie. I don't know how different that discussion will be compared to the Brusque Poet stuff I appeared in. I guess that was like raw, and this is after we've kind of refined our thoughts a bit more. I'm not going to say who's going to be in that video or who's hosting it or anything like that, but be sure to check that out. And I have a guest spot on another person's video on the MK movie. That might be out by this point, probably not, because I think that video is only just starting to be edited now while I'm recording this. So that's another thing to look forward to. I mean, it's always possible that I'll be asked to be involved in someone else's video. That could always happen in Mortal May. But one thing that I want to quickly mention, you guys remember this, right? I made a video about this before I had... it was unfortunate that it was before I came up with the idea for the show Fantastic. You can be sure, if I had had the concept for that show back then, this would have been episode 1. But unfortunately it's not. But this is actually going to be coming up, the Kickstarter. It was supposed to happen in April, but it got pushed back, and I believe it's happening in May. So, Mortal May, the Combat Compendium Kickstarter, where there's going to be some cool backer rewards, exclusive backer rewards that you can get. This is definitely something that's worth getting. I think it is still an unofficial thing. It's not being like officially endorsed or developed by NetherRealm or Warner Bros, which is unfortunate. I think it would have been really cool if this thing could have been just made properly and been an official book that people could buy. Alas, no. You can still support it and still get your own copy. I don't know if it'll be available after the Kickstarter. I'll need to look into that. I'm sure more information will be available as part of the proper Kickstarter campaign. But definitely keep your eyes out for that. I'll have some kind of video to go up so when it does go live, so I can say, guys, support them. This thing is worth more than anything you could ever obtain in the crypt in an MK game. But given the way MK11's gone, it's not really saying much. But on a related note, there is another cool thing that's coming out, which is the Mortal Kombat Miniatures collection. I believe it's a board game. It's basically got a bunch of little MK miniatures. I don't know how big they are, but they are fantastic. They did a Street Fighter one. The characters are great. Like, you have Ryu charging up a Hadouken, you got all the energy swirling around him, Ken with his fiery Shin Ryuken, just stuff like that, and they look phenomenal. And they're doing one for MK as well, which are based on the MK11 designs, and I need to discuss this because it's fucking hilarious. So they use MK11 designs for the characters, but they'll tweak them here and there to make them better. So Sonya is her default design for 11, but instead of having the cap and braid, she has the high ponytail and the headband. So she looks a bit more classic. Then you have characters like, say, Scorpion, who's in his past incarnation rather than the present Hanzo, or the default that's used in the game. Then you have Raiden with his MK2-ish design, Liu Kang and Johnny Cage with no shirts on, to make the characters look as classic as possible while still using the MK11 designs. It means Jade does suffer a bit, because, well, instead of going with the ones she has in the story mode, with that awful fucking brown one, it's one of the green ones with no hood. So she looks, you know, the one most people probably use the default Jade variation. So she looks great, but then I really have to highlight with Shao Kahn. There is a classic style Shao Kahn in MK11, but they didn't use that because it's still got those awful draconic aspects, and you cannot salvage that piss poor design. And so they just said fuck it and used MK2. It's just MK2 Shao Kahn, and I love it. It's great. It's just saying we can't reduce the quality of our product by sticking to the MK11 designs entirely. So we're going to do what we can to fix them up, and if we can't, we'll just say fuck it and use a better design. Because I don't think Kahn's MK2 design has ever actually been topped, to be honest. I like the Deception one, but mainly because he has the cape. Like, I think if you could play as MK2 Shao Kahn with the cape, it would be untouchable. It would be the best one by far. Oh, I forget who's making it, but look up Mortal Kombat Miniatures Collection. I believe they're going into Kickstarter this month too, which is really unfortunate timing that these two projects are effectively going head to head. But I'm going to back both of them, so don't worry. I guarantee both are going to get made. I shouldn't say even have to support it myself because I don't have that kind of money. But yeah, I'm going to support both, and you guys should consider supporting at least one of those. Just like you should consider supporting me on Patreon, because, you know, Mortal May would get more videos in Mortal May if it didn't also have to go to work. And see if I didn't have to have my day job. I demand obedience. I would have had this attached to my shirt like this, you know, like a MK11 Raiden, but I don't have any. I don't know where to put my blue tack, so I can't. But that's fine, because, you know, I should be wrapping this up anyway. I've been nattering on for 27 minutes. 27 minutes. For 27 minutes. Today we're going to be trying to survive on Shang Tsung's island for 24 hours. So, that's it. So, that's what you can expect for Morsel Made this year. Some of it was a bit vague, but we don't want to give away everything. I want it to be some level of surprise when you're watching the content and go, oh, look at this. This is a cool thing I didn't expect. Or, haha, I thought it might be this, but I wasn't entirely sure. Because you want some surprises that aren't fucking brain dead, like the thing with Cole, for example. That was incredibly stupid. And they're like, oh, it's a big twist. It's like, it's so obvious from second one. You know, you know, right? You get it. I'm going to record this bit here, just in case I do have something cool to put here. But yeah. Oh, look at that! A new video you get to watch early, which I might not even have something for. I'll figure this out. I should stop now, but I don't know how.